Good morning. Oh, I left the air conditioner on. Kind of loud. But better than being hot, right? It is so hot out. It is crazy hot. I don't know when it's going to end, right? Everything is burning up out there. I keep watering, but um, it's not. This doesn't feel like it's making that much damage. My poor Tulsi plants. I hope they're going to make it, but they're getting real dried out, and they're also really sad being in the pots. So I may end up planting them in the ground if I can't wait. Um, if they're big enough and they look stocky enough, they may just go right in the ground, and that'll be all right. So there's that. Um, yeah, I haven't had class for a few days. We had I had some technical problems, and then um, some technical problems with the laptop, and then it's just some technical problems with me not not being up to it. Um, been having some issues with my hip, and trying to get that sorted out. Um, so you got to be careful with your body. We want to use it, right? We want to keep moving, but you need to know when like enough is enough, and you need to make some changes. Um, Working with and around and through your injuries is a big part of making yoga part of your life, right? If we only did yoga on days that we felt great, that we felt perfect, um, we wouldn't get much done, right? Good morning, Susan. Yeah, I'm late too. See, I'm a couple days late, and I got started late too, so that's okay. Um, I think this time of year is my least favorite time of year. This end of the summer. Um, in some ways, like you'd think it would be good because if you're sick of the hot weather, um, you're ready for it to be done. And I am sick of the hot weather, but it's almost like like my tolerance is just done. Um, I'm sick of being indoors. I'm sick of hearing the air conditioner running all the time. Um, Everything feels damp. If you're not in the air conditioned space, everything feels damp and kind of you know clammy, right? Outdoors it feels like you're breathing air, or I'm sorry, you're breathing water, right? Just, uh, just be done with it, right? Get out of here. So it's like the last hurrah of summer, but I'm done with it. I'm ready for a change, ready for some different weather. And I think that's how it is, right? You look forward to the next thing, but then when you're there, you're kind of enjoying it, but you're also on your way towards not enjoying it. you you know you're going to have enough and need to move on sooner or later. Sometimes sooner rather than later. Um, but we're moving on to different things, and that'll be interesting for sure. So maybe that's something that we can think about. Um, where else, maybe, have you found that to be the case? Um, I think I was thinking about how people get stuck, right? Uh, if you, I know I have certainly had this happen to me just recently, where in your mind, something you have is pretty new, right? You feel like, oh, I just bought that, right? But if you sit down and think about it, you realize, yeah, maybe that was 10 years ago you bought it, or maybe even longer. Or maybe you're not even sure, right, how long you've had it. Um, we were looking at houses, and I'm always curious to see houses, what people's, especially the kitchens, like what do they look like? Because a lot of times kitchens are one of those things that people either completely redo or they just leave. And you can see these sort of different decades represented in the kitchen, and how that looks. And it made me think how we do stop seeing things. So we have made changes, but then we forget that those changes happened a long time ago and that things are very different. Maybe it's time to change again. Maybe we've gotten stuck in this groove of doing things a certain way, when really there might be a better way. There might be some different things that would help us, that we aren't even seeing because we're still back in that other decade, right? And I think that is one of the things that age us, right? We start to get old when can't see the new things, when we can't see that some of our things are maybe stuck, right? In an older way of doing things, an older way of thinking about things. Um, there is no perfect state of being. A lot of people like to think that there was or is, that in the good old days people did this, or um, that what they learned growing up is, that is sacrosanct. It will never change. Everybody around them is stupid and crazy, but they're the only person that's right. You can see where this would be a problem, right? Um, there is nothing that won't change, and I can tell you that for sure. Um, in human behavior, in human activity, in what we consider to be correct behavior, it will keep changing. It always does. The things that don't change, maybe the yamas and the yamas, right? But you know, how we act on them changes, right? Um, they change with our knowledge and with our understanding, right? So when I first started with yoga and yamas and niyamas, I was, my idea of ahimsa was different than it is now, right? That's evolved, that's changed. Not just my understanding, but my own, like, what I think is okay. And this is what we need to all work on, is this idea of, there is a range. Um, where are you going to fall down in that range? There is really careful ahimsa, and then there is not so careful ahimsa, right? Um, to expect yourself to do everything perfectly is to be constantly disappointed. But you need to do what's in your heart, and yoga opens our heart, right? Yoga brings out the best version of ourselves, but it doesn't happen all at once, right? I think of it like a flower opening. So if you've ever seen a flower bud, I remember one of my kids pulling a flower bud and trying to open it, right? And it made a mess, right? Didn't work. And they were very disappointed because I guess they believed that, that flower was in the bud, just ready to be open. And I mean, they weren't wrong. They knew that that flower would come from the bud. But what they didn't understand is it had its own time for doing that. It doesn't just happen like that. It happens slowly. And in much the same way, this is how we become our best self. If you try to all of a sudden do all of these things to the nth degree, you're going to fail, right? You're going to be um, unsuccessful. You're going to feel terrible about it, right? First of all, it's not sustainable, so you will be miserable, right? Because you've given up all of these behaviors and activities that you cherished. And you won't be able to stick to it because those type of big, huge changes are not in our nature. Right? So then we fail, and then we blame yoga, and then we blame everybody, right? Oh, this is a terrible idea. Why did I even try? Right? And then and then we give up. And don't get me wrong. Sometimes I think that's the whole end game to begin with is um, this whole idea behind New Year's resolutions and all these things where people have these resolves to do better, um, and they crash and burn, right? And it becomes, I joke about it, but it really can become a very corrosive pattern. Unconsciously, we're sabotaging ourselves by trying to take on too much. So it's bad in a lot of ways, right? First of all, we don't get anything done. Second of all, we are reinforcing a sort of internal belief that we may have that we can't succeed, that we are doomed to fail every endeavor. Um, we're going to find a way to sabotage it and sort of self fulfill this prophecy in our mind that we are not good, that we are not um, capable, right? None of those things are true, right? They aren't. Um, but how do we stop that? Well, we look to the flower, right? The flower doesn't try to open all at once. It takes its time, um, and when it's ready, it's beautiful. It's perfect. It's just how it should be. So take your time. Don't try to um, go crazy with these things. See what seems good for you today. I use the ahimsa example because it's an easy one to sort of grasp your mind around, but it could be any of the yamas, right? Ahimsa, we often talk about this in the idea of sort of vegetarian eating or avoiding, knowing that animals are dying to eat or to give us something to eat when there are other options, right? And we've also said this clearly too that you know all of these things, yamas and niyamas, are tempered by our need to survive, right? So if that's what you need to do to survive, that's what you have to do. But if you have other options, you may choose other options. And I, in my own practice, have absolutely moved from not really caring about what I ate in terms of meat or not meat, where it came from, to okay, let's be a careful steward of this and try to make sure that the food that I'm eating is from places where they're farming in a sustainable way and all that. To what, I don't think I even want to do that anymore. I think I just don't want to eat that. I think I'm just going to eat vegetables. I don't know. Right? And it's not 100%. It was never 100% any of those things. But I feel ready. I feel like that's what I want to do. So that's what I'm going to do. But if you a year ago or 5 years ago or whatever said, hey, got to do it, I wouldn't have done it. I would have been very unhappy and very disappointed in myself and all of these things. So set your goals sustainable, and understand that we all have our own time, our own internal um, timetable, right? I mean, it really is a timetable. And we disregard that so much because, again, we've got that negative voice in our head saying, Well, you're lazy, right? You aren't going to do anything that's good for you. You're- you need someone else to tell you how to do that. You need someone else to push you. You need some external form of discipline. Right? Um, and I mean, you can do that, right? There certainly are people that have external forms of discipline and you know, order that is sort of imposed upon them, right? I think of, people in the army, right? People in the armed forces. There is really, an external schedule that they're following, but it's not that dissimilar to people who are living on an ashram or some sort of, spiritual society. Again, if you've ever been to one of those places, their lives are very regimented. Their days are split up in strict order. This time for this time for that, this time for that, and they move through, their day at a set pace. Hopefully, all of them are ready for that. They have, evolved or changed to the point where they're willing to give up that control over their day. But I mean, probably not. There probably are a lot of people there looking for that direction. And maybe it's not correct or perfect for them, but it's a way for them to get a handle on things. So an external form of direction is not always bad, but it may not suit you as well as you think it will, right? And it may not be as necessary as you think it is. If we can be more understanding and more patient with ourselves, um, we can work on this. We can allow um, our own timetable to emerge and see what it is we want to do. Life is a long time, and as anxious as we get about getting certain things done in a certain frame of time, um, we may be better off to just let it go, let it be what it is, and um, understand that we aren't as lazy as we think. we may just need a break. We may just need a rest. Um, and I think truly, I know this happens with me in my asana and my practice. The less I push myself, the more anxious I get to do it, right? Um, when I allow myself to step away, then I want to come back. When I set a sort of a strict schedule of something I will not vary from, then I start getting angry. I start getting anxious. Uh, I don't want to do that. I start feeling um, terrible, kind of about whatever it is I've set as a goal. And that's no good, right? So find a balance, right? As with everything, it's a balance between, you know, not doing anything and doing too much. And the real way to do this is you have to be able to look at things for real and truly. You have to be able to be honest with yourself. No bullshit, no, um, oh, I'm going to tell myself this crazy story and whatever, which means good and bad, right? No, you're not a bad person if you don't get everything done. But yeah, you can get lazy and put everything off. Um, these are true for all of us at different times. So if you can really look at yourself truly, right, then you'll know. Um, what stops us is this fear that we have and this deep belief that many of us have that we're bad, that we are all bad. 100%, 100% bad. No good in there. The only good we have is what other people are telling us, or um, like our fear of getting caught, right? That's the only thing that stops us from doing terrible things. Um, I don't think that's true. Uh, I don't think that's really true for almost anyone. There may be some people who are, you know, deeply disturbed and broken, where that is the case. But I think for most of us, that's just our, that's just our worried brain telling us things. Most of us are a lot more committed to kindness and um, doing the right thing than we know. It's it becomes an urge. Right? Again, if you are really in touch with that center, with who you really are, um, you doing the wrong thing becomes painful. It becomes it feels uncomfortable. You don't want to do the wrong thing. So again, it's part of this unfolding. It's part of this blossoming. Let's say doesn't happen all at once, but if you don't stop um, beating yourself up about things and you never start trusting yourself, you will never. You will stay this little bud, right? You might not even be a bud. You might be a seed, right? Seeds are great. We mention seeds a lot in yoga. There's a lot of mention of the seed because we are the seed. It contains just like a seed, teeny tiny seed, which you can't believe this huge tree can come from a teeny tiny seed. But that seed contains everything that is needed, all the information, everything that is needed for that tree to grow to its perfection. And we are the same. We contain all of this information, all of this ability, all of this strength, resources, everything within us at all times from the beginning. Um, and the beginning's beginning. Right? So why don't we trust ourselves? why don't we um, why don't we look within? Why don't we allow that to be our guide? Um, if you can answer that question, I'll give you $100. No, if you can answer that question, um, you're going to be better off than most people. But it isn't really, it's more of a rhetorical question than anything else. I don't know that there is an answer for that question. Um, I think at different times there may be a different answer. But you don't need to know the answer to know it's not a good pattern um, to follow. That we can really only trust ourselves. Right? Isn't that the truth? Um, people will people will disappoint you. Right? People will let you down. Um, Putting your faith in others is not the same thing as loving them or feeling compassionate towards them or um, these are all good things, right? Feeling empathy, understanding other people are having problems just as you are, being compassionate to them in their issues is not the same thing as depending on them, right? Having all of your faith in them because they are just people as you are. They are fallible. They're going to have problems. They're going to make big mistakes. They're going to betray you. They're going to break your heart. Um, right? This is what people do to one another. There's no avoiding this, right? If you are going to interact with people, if you're going to be part of this big social group, which we are inherently all connected, we're going to get hurt. We're going to hurt other people. It's going to be unavoidable, right? And oftentimes it's the people you're closest to of all, right? Your family, your friends. These people know you well. You know them. They really know how to get under your skin, and so and vice versa, right? Um, but we love them. And they love us, even if they don't know how to show it, even if we fumble the whole thing, right? Um, that's where the compassion comes in. That's where the understanding that we are working at this whole thing imperfectly, trying our best, but not being surprised when it doesn't go perfectly. We just keep trying, right? But trust in yourself. Um, that is your home. That is uh, your starting place, right? And it's enough. You may feel like it's not. You may feel like you're missing something. That if you aren't in a romantic relationship, if you aren't surrounded by friends and family 24/7, that you're missing, that you're lacking. Um, but you're not, right? You are whole and perfect in and of yourself. And you have been from the very beginning. Um, that's a big thing to remember. It's a big truth. Um, but it's so important. That truth, that one truth, can change your life. It can change how you feel about getting up out of bed in the morning. So hold on to it. Right? And if you're not there yet, if you don't believe it, think about it for a while. Sit with it. See if you can't find the truth in it. Um, meditate on it and see what happens. All right, let's move around a little bit. I'm not doing a lot of yoga today because, again, I've got something out of place here. So we're just going to do a bit. Because some days, that's all we got. I'm going to bring soles of the feet together, sitting up tall, and then leaning forward here. So it's important to try to keep moving, right? Even if you're having some issues. Um, there's very little, I'm not going to say nothing, but there's very little that could happen to your body that you could not move some part of it in some way, right? Sitting and doing nothing is never a good option. Let's point and flex the feet, right? Even like people who aren't very mobile, people who sit in a wheelchair or something, they have chair yoga. They have other things that, you know, try to move what can be moved. And try to get mobility in areas that uh, you maybe haven't thought about. Let's rotate through the ankles. So chair yoga, I mean, there are a lot of people who are sitting in wheelchairs or sitting a lot and then rotate back because of some issue, right? Maybe they have shortness of breath. Maybe they have dizziness. So walking is dangerous. Maybe they don't have good cardiac function. So, they get out of breath and different things like that. Those people can still move, right? I mean, it's not that their limbs don't move. They just need the stability of the chair. So if you're finding, that you're having some issues like that, do what you can in a chair. Find your stability, right? This is always what we're looking for with yoga is the stability. And sometimes you need external help for the stability. You need a chair to hold on to. You need a counter to hold on to. That's fine because you have to start from a place of stability. However, you got to do that. Bend the knee. And then sitting up, pull the shoulders back. Then we move from there. Um, but if we don't have stability, we don't have anything, right? Lower the knee, bring that foot in. Take a deep breath and lean forward. Back up and switch around. Lowering. Deep breath. Fold forward. Back up. Both legs out. Take a deep breath and fold. Back up. Left hand on right knee, right arm behind. Sit tall and twist. Back to center and switch. And back to center. Bend the knees. Lowering down. Let's bring the right knee in. Lower that knee out to the right. And then bring that knee across, rolling up on the left hip. Try to keep the shoulders as flat as you can on the mat. And then we're back. Switch. And then lower. Back to center. Extend your legs. Extend your arms. And then let's bring soles of the feet together. Arms up over the head maybe. Or if you don't like how that feels, you could just bring the hands down to the belly. And then back to center. Let's bring the knees together, walk the feet to the outer edges. And then we're going to bring the block. So we're walking the heels back close to the body. Find your good place for the block. And then we'll just kind of rest. We bring the knees in. And then set your feet back down. You had them up. And move the block. And soles of the feet together again. Breathe. When you're ready, just extend the legs and the arms and find a comfortable place to be in Shavasana. Peaceful, steady breath. When you're ready, moving a bit, just getting the body back into movement. Making your way up to a seat. We'll bring hands together for a breath in and a breath out. Thank you for taking time this morning for your practice and for sharing it with me here. I hope you have a very good Friday. Namaste. Okay, great. Let's do 5-minute meditation. So getting that peaceful state, calm, keep that breath moving. Okay, we're back. Um, so enjoy your day. I'm not gonna have class tomorrow. I'm still trying to finish up the dumpster, and I've got stuff to take to hazmat for a pickup, and it's tomorrow. So, um, yeah, I get that done, and then I'll be back Monday, and we will. Um, I guess that'll be the last week of August, right? Pretty great. Okay, I'll see you then.